Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and today I'm really pleased to show you some card projects using a really fun die collection from Creative Expressions, plus new embossing folders. I'm going to combine these products today with some of my very favorite colors of opal polish, plus the lacy coral pattern paper pack. There's a lot for us to explore today, and I am so very glad you're here. Come play with us. Let's begin with the Moonlit Owl die collection. So this set is a little different than the other Creative Expressions dies that we've looked at before. Rather than borders or tags, this set is meant to create a scene. So you've got 6 dies that are designed to be used together. Of course, you can also use them separately. You've got a tree trunk, an owl in flight. You have a beautiful branch, which is such a versatile design. You've got the moon as a crescent moon and as a full moon. And then you have a really sweet sentiment that says, everything will be owl right. Of course, that goes perfectly with that owl image. Now, what I really like about these dies are that Creative Expressions also gives several card ideas in the packaging for a little bit of additional inspiration. So, for example, you can see on these 2 cards on the bottom that they've elongated that tree trunk, this is the die that you'll get. But if you cut multiple images and patch them together, and hide the overlap with some of the branches, you can create a taller tree. So a great little tip from our friends at Creative Expressions. Now, these images are also embossed, and in fact, I think you can see that on this tree trunk, those ridges on there, which means that you'll get the shape, plus you'll get some texture. And you can emphasize that texture with lots of different mediums, including opal polish. And that's what I've done on here. So I think you can see there's a little bit of color, and I've hit the raised areas with that opal polish to give a little bit of additional shine. So those are the dies. Now I've also got 3 3D embossing folders to share with you today. Of course, all embossing is dimensional, but the 3-dimensional is, I guess you would say, extra dimensional. It's going to give you a really deep impression. So we've got the Paisley Daisy. We have the Leafy Forest. Of course, that's perfect in combination with that owl. And we have the Dotty Flourish. Each one of the folders measures 190 by 145 millimeters. In inches, that's about 7 1/4 by 5 5/8. So it's a nice generous size and larger than most standard size of cards. So it will definitely cover your card front. Now, when you emboss this design, you've got the raised area on one side, but you've also got the debossed side on the other side. So it's essentially giving you 2 designs in one. Now, of course, you can simply emboss with whatever color cardstock you want and leave it as is. You can also highlight the design with opal polish. So let's take a look at that. I've got my embossed piece of Dotty Flourish, which I've simply embossed onto a plain white cardstock. And I'm going to grab my opal polish. This color is Blushed Peach. Now, I know we've done several webisodes on opal polish, and many of you are really familiar with this medium, but let's just take a quick look for those who are new to it. So opal polish is a water-based, fast-drying medium. It's got mica in it, so it's going to give your cardstock a beautiful iridescent look. They come in all different colors and can be used individually or combined together. Now, I love that it comes in a handy jar and that the top has a built-in sponge applicator. Now, the applicator is perfect for highlighting a raised design like these embossed pieces, so it's kind of a natural fit. And it gives a much smoother look than if you're running an ink pad over the top of this embossed design. Now, our friends at Creative Expressions recommend that you prime your sponge before use by wetting it with a little warm soapy water, and then also misting both the sponge and the medium with some water in between uses. That just helps to keep things fresh. All you need to do is just dip that sponge right into the medium. I like to kind of scrape off any excess so I'm not working with a big load of this. And then simply hold down the cardstock and hit the raised sections of this design with your opal polish. And you can see how beautiful that is. It's just a soft, shimmering effect. Now, I'm just getting the raised areas here. If I wanted to, I could really press that sponge in, and that will get not only the raised areas of the design, but also the debossed areas on here too. And I think you can see how pretty that is and how quick and easy it is. It dries really, really quickly as well. So what I'm going to do is also bring in that piece of black cardstock, and we can see how the same color looks if I'm just getting the raised areas here. Look how beautiful that is. It's almost like a copper color. And that's going to give you one effect. And of course, on the white will give you a completely different look. Lots of different options that you can do. So there's black, there's white, and of course there's a lot of colors in between, which means that you have got a variety of really beautiful looks. So now that you've seen the basics for how to apply your opal polish to your raised embossed designs, let's take a look at some card projects. This card is one of my favorites, and I just love how simple it is and how the embossed background sets the scene for the dies. So for this card, I used the Leafy Forest embossing folder on the background. I embossed it onto white cardstock and then accented it with the gilded apricot opal polish. And I think you can see I've hit the raised areas of those trees and then also in between a little bit as well, just to give a little extra shine on there. Now the owl and the sentiment have both been die cut from black cardstock that's been colored first with blushed peach opal polish. And people have often wondered, if you're die cutting, should you color your cardstock with the opal polish before you die cut or after? And it really doesn't matter in my experience. The only thing I would suggest is that if you are die cutting from a piece of cardstock that has been colored with opal polish, do make sure that that opal polish is completely dry before you put the die on it and then run it through your die cutting machine. It doesn't take very long to dry, but sometimes we crafters get a little bit impatient. So do make sure that that's totally dry before you send it through your die cutting machine. Now, another little tip that I want to bring up is this kind of shadow effect that I've got going on the sentiment. Now, in this case, my sentiment has been die cut 2 times. Once from cardstock that has been colored with the blushed peach opal polish, and a second time from just plain black cardstock. And I glued the 2 together and just so slightly offset them so that you get a bit of a shadow effect. And that just helps that sentiment to stand out from the background effect on here so it doesn't get lost among the trees. Then all I need to do is add a bow on here, and I have a really nice, simple but effective card design. Now for this card, I've used the same owl and the same sentiment, but I've added in some other elements from the Moonlit Owl die set. So you can see I've got that tree stump. I really like that. I've got the branch coming out here, and I have the crescent moon and the owl, as well as the same sentiment. Now all the die cut pieces are from black cardstock, and many of them have been colored with opal polish. So I've used Golden Glow for the moon, for the owl, and for the tree. And I've used another one of my favorites, which is Green Lemons. I used that for the branch on here. Now, the only piece that I did not opal polish was the sentiment. I really wanted that to stand right out. The other area that I did use opal polish was to edge the card front as well as this pattern paper piece in here. And edging with opal polish is a technique that is just a really great one to have in mind. So I thought I'd demonstrate it for you really quickly. So here I've got the Golden Glow and just a plain piece of black cardstock. And all I need to do is just dip that sponge right into the gold. You can see that I like this color a lot because there's not a whole lot left. I'm going to hold my cardstock in one hand and then simply run the sponge along the edge. And I think you can see that you're getting a beautiful metallic effect. Now this gives me quite a subtle line. If I wanted something a little bit bolder, I can angle that sponge toward the front, and that's going to get me a bit of a thicker line. Now I can also get a little bit more of a distressed edge if I come in with that sponge and kind of flick it off the side. Then I'm able to get a really pretty sort of old world effect. So this is a great way to also put your opal polishes to work to create a really coordinated effect with all of your papers and with your elements as well. So that's our second card. Now the third card uses just a portion of that embossed background. I've used the Paisley Daisy embossing folder onto white cardstock, and I colored it with Golden Glow and with blushed peach opal polish. So don't forget, you can apply one color of opal polish and then add a second one on top. And the branches are also colored with 2 opal polish colors. I've got green lemons, and then I accented on top with blushed peach. Now you'll notice with the branches that I've also got that same sort of offset matting effect. So I've die cut the branches from white cardstock and then colored them, and then also die cut them separately from black cardstock and just glued those together so that I have a little bit more dimension on here. Now, if you're wondering about doing 2 colors of opal polish together, I've got a piece of cardstock that I've embossed, and then I've really colored it well with the green lemons. And this is all dry, so now I can come back in. Maybe I'll come in with the gilded apricot. So let's take a look at this. I'm just going to mist that sponge to freshen it up. So just give a few quick blitzes with a little bit of water, dip that into my medium. And again, make sure that I scrape off any excess. And then I'm just going to gently apply some of the color to the raised sections of this embossed design. It's absolutely beautiful. It gives me a really pretty two-tone effect. And I could even take advantage of some of the white area here and create a really dramatic effect. So you can see that you're able to get lots of different colors. It's all got that same sort of soft luminescent effect. So everything will coordinate really beautifully. Now for our last card, I've actually used the debossed side of the Dotty Flourishes embossing design. So I first embossed that onto black cardstock and then added my Golden Glow opal polish on here. So I thought I'd show you this one quickly too, because this is a really favorite way for me to use these. So as you can see here, this is with the paisley design. I've got the raised side and then I've got the debossed side. So let me see, I've got, which one do I have to hand? Well, of course I've got my Golden Glow. So I'm going to use this one. And again, just simply dip this in, scrape off the excess, and then run this on top. I just love this design and I love this technique. It's quick, it's easy, it's pretty much foolproof. And take a look. It is just absolutely beautiful. Now, of course, I've done this with one of my favorite colors, the Golden Glow. But you can imagine that with all of the different varieties of colors, depending on black or white cardstock, you could get some really, really different effects. So you've actually got quite a lot of options with this combination of opal polish and these embossing folders. So again, let's take another look at the card. Again, I've used the Golden Glow as the background. I used gilded apricot for the moon that's back here behind the branches. Again, the green lemons for the branch and gilded apricot for the owl as well. I really love how the colors coordinate so perfectly with the lacy coral pattern paper pack, which of course is what I have been using throughout the webisode today. So with this last card, I think you can see that there are a lot of really fun and easy ways to combine these versatile supplies from Creative Expressions. I'm so glad that you've joined us today, and I can hardly wait to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again so much for being part of the Paper Wishes family. We are really glad that you're here with us. Now be sure to leave a comment. We also love to hear what you think about today's webisode. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For that money saver, just see the webisode on paperwishes.com.